Hello Eagles fans and welcome to the Inside Swoop, proudly presented by Jim Beam, talking all things West Coast Eagles. Welcome Will Schofield to the desk. How you going, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm okay. Anything to report this week? What's going on in your world?
That's a question without notice. There's lots going on. Back chat. Interviewed a Freo player today, actually.
Don't love that.
Yeah, that's all right. Freo on West Coast, it's okay. We can live together in harmony. You don't have to like each other when you play, but they do exist.
Do they?
Yes.
I'll acknowledge them when I have to. Let's talk game then. Did you feel that we were any chance to win that game? Popped our heads in front in the third quarter, looked a fair shout, but instead Richmond go on to win and we lose 5 of the last 6 at the MCG. It was in the balance. Did you think at any stage we were going to be getting up?
It was competitive, right? Like the momentum stuff is the things that's hurting the club at the moment with the way that the side can or can't hold momentum of opposition clubs. So Richmond in the second quarter were on top and they were coming and West Coast, through a bit of inaccuracy from Richmond, but some good defensive pressure and things they were doing, were able to hold with it. And then, they took their opportunity and they hit the lead. So Richmond are always going to come back. They aren't playing their best footy this year, but they're a good side at the MCG. I think West Coast will be disappointed they weren't able to stop those run of goals. And I spoke to Simo about that on our Simo, Prestea. I mean, that's a bit of an anomaly, a Prestea coming and kicking 3 goals in about 6 minutes.
Well, it's crazy because we'd won 9 of 11 clearances in that third quarter.
Right.
And then all of a sudden their 3 or 4 were just the most damaging of the day.
Yeah, that's just what good sides do, though. And again, I say it again, Richmond isn't playing their best footy, but good sides and good players, they need one chance. You don't need 5, 6, 7 chances. And if you are playing good sides and good players, adversely, as a club for West Coast, if you get one chance, you have to take it because you're going to have 12-point swings where if you miss and they kick one, it turns the game into a close one to all over pretty quickly, and that's what happened on the weekend.
A few of the players are saying that we're not taking the most of our chances going forward. Richmond certainly did that in the back half of the game, kicking 9 of the last 10, just finishing with brute force. Do you see that as a problem at the moment? We've gone from a team that was ever so efficient in the last few years to now not making the most of opportunities?
I would love to have definite stats on that. The last time I checked, and I'm not going to go against what you've said.
Seems like you are.
Well, okay, I'm going to go against exactly what you said. I believe West Coast are efficient this year. When they enter forward 50, they kick goals and take their chances. They're just not
going in. Sure, you're not thinking of that from CBDs?
They're just not going in enough.
Right.
So anyone who's watching and listening to this, please fact check either Thumper or me. Happy to put a West Coast money tin on it.
Okay, that's worth quite a bit.
Yes.
More than your wage on the show, I do believe.
I do believe that.
So we're talking about the most devastating facet of the game, and that was youngster Jai Cully, 20 years of age, just 9 games into his AFL career, ruptures the ACL. Just absolutely brutal for the young fella and the club in general when you're dealing with injury chaos in the 2023 season. You've been through this before in terms of seeing teammates go down with debilitating, year-long injuries. How's it dealt with internally?
Look, it's really difficult, and thoughts are with Jai Cully, wins a Rising Star, and then a couple of weeks later does his knees out for 12 months. So clearly, it's a difficult thing to have to deal with, and it's really difficult for teammates of his to be able to deal with it as well. How do you support a player that isn't going to be playing footy for 12 months? That's the realisation and fact you have to come to.
Are they doing hybrids anymore?
I don't know.
A hybrid's there. I haven't heard a hybrid for a while.
No, I mean, and they genuinely lean towards those for the older players that they want to turn around. Someone like Jai, who's a young guy, they'll be going traditional. It's just, how do you support him? Because you don't want everyone walking around the locker room every day. He comes in going, how you going? How's your knee? He gets sick of it. They'll give him some time away. He'll heal from his surgery. And then when he does get back around the footy club, I mean, it's really important for Jai, first of all, to have some clear focus and some clear points he needs to tick off to get back to playing, and he'll reach those milestones, and that'll be ways to keep him motivated. But then for the players, really all you can do is support probably socially. There's not much you can do in helping a player do his rehab. That's got to be internal, and that's why you hear so many players around the competition speak about how difficult it is in rehab because it's mental. It's not a physical thing. Yes, he's hurt his knee, but that'll repair. His knee will be fine. It's about that mental capacity. How can you push yourself? So all the best to him. He's got a big journey ahead, but if he can get through it, he'll be better for it.
Absolutely. Dom Sheed was a welcome sight back for West Coast fans. He returned seemingly not missing a beat, 29 touches and 9 clearances, just adds such class around the midfield. giving Tim Kelly support, who's in career best form for the footy club. He's had 11 touches in the third, so he was certainly willing the team over the line as best he could. And then he spoke to the media a little earlier in the week. Let's listen to what the Premiership midfielder had to say.
Yeah, I felt good. The thing about my throat was I was able to keep on training and keep my training loads up. I just wasn't able to get contact there for the last month. So I feel like my fitness stayed up to a good level and I felt good out there. I felt connected to the boys. It was hard watching them sitting on the sidelines for a month, but it was good to be back out there finally. It just needed those extra few weeks just to recover, and running out now there's always going to be an element of risk, but it feels really good and I got the tick off from the surgeon to keep playing, which was nice.
Yeah, I mean, from a medical point of view, clearly he was being told not to put his throat at risk, and there was stages early on where if you had to come back and got a knock on it, then you have surgery and then, there's a year gone. So I think right move, but then he's obviously conflicted being a competitor, seeing his teammates lose. He's a good player too. Dom Sheed, top 10 player at the club easily in terms of importance and quality.
Missed a few of those top 10ers.
Yeah, correct. But you get him back and at least, he adds some real quality to that midfield, and I thought he was good on return.
Oscar Allen did his Coleman chances no harm with 4 of the best on the weekend. His first game where he's kicked one not on a set shot. Could you believe?
Saw that.
One of his best goals of his career, I thought. So previous best of 22, he's going to shatter that. Simo said he wants to rotate the captaincy around until Boots is back on deck. Tom Barrett's been doing an awesome job by all reports with teammates holding the reins for now. Oscar's on that short list for receiving that for 1-2 weeks, however they want to do it. Want to talk to you about Oscar Allen, how you think that rotating captaincy's gone. You were a part of it back at West Coast where they were trialling a few boys out.
Yep.
You remember that?
Yeah, so Darren Glass retired midway through a season, and so he was captain at the time, and they basically put it to the leadership group at the time, and we made a real point of saying this was going to rotate, and it was an audition of sorts for those guys. We're talking Matt Prittis, Josh Kennedy, Dean Cox would have been at the time, I believe, and the other one was Shannon Hearn.
So did he win the job through this?
No. So the audition isn't an audition whether you get the job or not. It's an audition as much as it is for the players and the club that it is for that individual. Tossing the coin, speaking to the boys before the game. There goes my pen. I've lost my ability to play football and to hold pens. And just the way that you have to operate as a captain is different to being a player and worrying about yourself every week. So I think they'll rotate it, but it doesn't mean who's going to get a job. That doesn't mean who's going to get the job. When Shannon Hearn was auditioning, it was more like campaigning. I think that was the first time in his career that he knew everyone's name on the list, Shannon Hearn. He was looking for votes at the time.
Can you go fans look at your pinky finger? Is that one reason you can't hang onto a pen right now? That is obscene stuff.
It's not ideal. I actually copped a knock on this in my return to the Waffle team.
Looks like you copped about 70 knocks on it.
Thank your team, the West Coast Eagles, for that. So yeah, not looking great, but I mean, I've seen worse. Quinton Lynch, case in point.
We had a young emerging sort of leader group appear on Coast to Coast this week. It was Oscar Allen, Jake Waterman, Josh Rotham, and they touched on their mentoring experiences and style. Let's have a listen to them.
It's sort of come pretty quickly. I mean, it probably started for me just within the forward line at first and just making myself known as a leader down there, and then you sort of gain the confidence and it sort of expresses itself throughout the playing group. And, we're all pretty young and we're learning on the hop as everyone has done over the time. We've got some great leaders at the footy club, so we can lean on just about any one of those blokes any time when we need to. You lose guys like Kenny's retired, Cripps is out, Lamb's out. You've got to step up and sort of take on a more dominant role, I guess.
It's interesting because you guys drafted 2016 together, and then I was the year after. How quickly you look around the locker room, and the common gag at the moment is, and I think you said it to me, so the oldest 8 players get business trip flights on the way over, and you're now in the 8 oldest players in the side, which is like a crazy thought. So your age group, so it's you two and Witho pretty much, your age.
Yeah.
And then there's me the year under you with Petch. So all of a sudden we've kind of gotten to a stage of footy where we're kind of being looked upon as role models and guys that first year players look up to. So we're almost what Jack Redden was for us when we came to the footy club, which is it's a crazy thought, and it all changes pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure. And I think for us, we've seen some amazing leaders come through the footy club since we've been here, but for us, turning 24, 25, going into our 6th, 7th year, we can lead in our own way, which might not be on-field Shannon Hearn type. It might be around the locker room, being someone to lean on around training. So I think for us, just working out our leadership style, we're probably in that phase.
Got my pen back. Now, look, those guys, it's been really interesting to watch their development, right? Oscar Allen, clearly a high talent in the football club, but Jake Rotham.
Who? Are they bred, have they?
Jake Waterman, Josh Rotham. I've watched on closely as a teammate and now from afar. It's just really interesting insight about what it is to develop inside a football club. You go from being a very young player, drafted, just worrying about yourself, and you want to get a game, just one game. And you get one game, you think, oh, maybe I can play more than one game, and you try to start getting a couple more games, but you're still just worried about yourself. And then somewhere in the middle there, you start getting picked a little bit more regularly, but you're still fighting for selection. But you start to see if you can work within your line, as the boys said. Can you work within the back line? And then it evolves and you get picked more and you become maybe an every game pick player, and you really work into that team structure of trying to lead within the team, not just your line. And then you become an old player, and then you become experienced, and then you start to really lead. But you don't get to do that until you're 27, 28, 29. It's very rare to have guys of Oscar Allen's age really leading. You can have, Oscar Allen's a leader, but to really understand leadership, you need to go through good things, bad things, adversity, show resilience, all of that, which you just don't get without experience. That's why when you see that some of these young, I remember Melbourne did it, they put all these 22-year-olds as captains of the footy club. Remember that when they did that? And from Grimes was one of them.
Trengo? Yeah,
Trengo. I was just, I'm sure they were leaders, but to be the leader, I think you need experience in everything that footy brings.
I have vivid memories of you being on cloud nine when you finally got your business class upgrades and you were worthy. So how long did that take you?
There was a stage where there was a crossover between height and age. So I
wonder what you were pushing.
Well, at one point it was height only. And so blokes like Matty Prittis, Brownlow medalist, leadership group, was back in economy, and Pritter was filthy. Absolutely. I reckon he still would be to this day.
So Scotty Lycett rolling in 50 games. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. And Will Schofield probably. Cal Sinclair was one of those sitting up the front. And so discussion was had around age. So I reckon out of all West Coast players, I had this beautiful run because it was height and I was getting in there when I shouldn't have been. And by the time age came about, I was then old. So then I had that as well. So it's funny how the business class thing, as much as it means nothing, it means everything.
It means a bit. They're long flights.
I've still got my Virgin Platinum Velocity membership because of it.
Hang on to it while you can.
Yeah, I'm trying my desperate scenes at the moment. My review comes in 2 months and I'm still trying to keep on.
You're going to have to lie quite a bit. Thought Bunga was going to be on 2 footy cards 2 weeks in a row. Pickett almost taking what I thought was going to be mark of the year on this one. Luckily dropped it and Bunga escapes the limelight for just one more week.
He would have been stoked with that.
He would have been flat. Is this TB's best mark of the year? Yes. Is it his best mark of his career?
Yeah, yes. He took one in the hub. I don't know who it was against.
It was a dangle. We're seeing it now, but a bit of a dangle.
Correct. He took another at home at Optus that I reckon is up there. But can mark the big fella, always been a big strength of his.
Let's go on to the Gold Coast Suns. Friday night, sharing the primetime stage with Richmond and Geelong, who play a little earlier. I guess they figured the West Coast and Suns wouldn't draw too much of a broadcasting crowd, perhaps, Scully?
I think they're actually putting the early Friday game a bit earlier. So they're trying to get 2 Friday night games.
Just to avoid Mother's Day catastrophes on Sunday?
I don't know. I'm working Sunday though, so I don't think I've actually got that card in line. Friday night footy though, it's even though Gold Coast and West Coast aren't playing the best footy, Friday night footy is still a thing. It's still the biggest stage that players get to play on, and West Coast don't get a lot of it. So it'll be a good experience. I spoke to a couple of boys. They had night training this week, which again is something you don't do every week. So I think the energy's up. I'm sensing good things this week, Thumper.
Okay. Well, what about Gold Coast form? I mean, they're coming off just going down to Melbourne. They gave them a great shake in the last quarter.
Yep.
They've beaten the Tigers the week prior. They knocked the Cats off when they were still finding their feet early in the season. It's going to be a real tough contest. They're not synonymous with the Gold Coast of old.
Yeah, I mean, their midfield's a real strength. King coming back in front of the ball for them has been really big. And Sam Collins is leading a defence that they can shut down opposition. They've done that well. So Oscar Allen will be matched up on Sam Collins, you would think. Charlie Ballard, I think, will play off the back of his quite controversial incident involving Jacob Van Rooyen from Melbourne. So he'll play. So look, they're becoming more balanced, Gold Coast, and they'll create challenges across the field. But I think West Coast can, at a minimum, really compete with them, and I definitely think they can beat them.
They had an overwhelming contested ball number stat against Melbourne. They were winning the footy really well. You got Jared Witts, who's going to give everyone first use, you would think, in the midfield this week. Dominant ruck differential with the height against Bailey Williams, you'd assume. So is that just a reactive midfield now? You've got to say to all your mids, you're just following the Gold Coast mids, and you basically got to be on their heel and then break when you see the opportunities. Is that the direction?
Centre bounce, Bailey will jump higher than Witsy does, and I think around the ground will be the issue because he's just stronger and he's more experienced. So around the ground stoppage, that's where ruckman can do that. But look, I think Bailey Williams' development, it's been spoken about, it's been really good, and this will just be another challenge for him against one of the best ruckmen in the comp.
Don't forget, West Coast fans, it is Friday night footy, probably the only one we're going to get for 2023. So if you get the chance, go along. Hopefully we go on the winners list this week. It's a 6:40 bounce. Tickets on sale through Ticketmaster. Or you can go large and dine in with the club's Premiership Lounge or the Legends Club. Pretty unreal atmosphere up there with the 8-seat open air box. They can be secured at premium at westcoasteagles.com.au. Scully, what's a weirder sight in your eyes to finish at the Inside Swoop, courtesy of Jim Beam? Is it this punter that's taken a rabbit in to watch the game of footy at the G, or is it Matty Rao just hoeing into some turf?
Both are quite strange. Look, as Sheeta said during the week, it probably wouldn't work for me, eating grass before games. But if it works for Matty Rao, if it works for Matty, hey, everyone's different, Thumper. I've got no problem with it.
Are you saying something to him out there on the ground?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I actually had, look, I'll finish with this. I know booing has been a big thing in the media this week. Someone texted into one of the shows I was on this week and said, okay, no worries, we can't boo. Is it okay if I moo Matt Rao? Thought you'd like that.
Excellent finish.